What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Versus. It has been a very long year, but I have returned and I'm here with someone very special. His name is Michael Santiago, and he is the host of a podcast called Gamers University Podcast. Hello, Michael. How are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Glenn? Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly honored.
Of
And those
course.
are sweet words that you said. Thank you so much for having me. This is gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you for coming on. I've been, like I told you earlier, I've been following your podcast for a little bit, and I've been following you around on Twitter. So I've been wanting to do this for a minute. So I'm very glad to have you.
Thank you. And it's so cool that that someone is like listening to the podcast out there. Like people download it and stuff like that. But I've rarely like met someone who's like, oh, I've listened to your podcast and
Yeah.
that I've never met before. This is so much fun, man.
And
I'm
your
so glad.
podcast just hit 1K downloads like last week, I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm super proud of that, and I'm like shocked. I, you know, this all started like I don't know if the story, but like I'm just a gamer like anybody else. I'm not like in the gaming community like that. At least I wasn't until recently. But um, Danny Pena by any chance?
Yes, been following
He's
them for
like
a
the
while.
goat of podcasting. He's incredible. He like literally like grabbed me and pulled me into the gaming community through like what he did. Like he took a chance and like he gave me an opportunity to play the Xbox Series X a month before it came out.
I remember seeing
And
that video. Yeah.
yeah. What it was, I was a like a listener of his podcast. I was into like during my commutes and especially with the new systems coming out, Xbox, PlayStation. You get hyped, so you want to like listen to podcasts a little bit more and stuff. So I found Gamer Tag Radio with Danny Pena, Paris, and Pete, and I became a fan. I followed the Discord and stuff like that, and he sends me like a DM saying like, "Hey, we're getting together with a bunch of fans, and just to like talk about games and stuff. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And so he gives me an address, and then he's like, he's asking like when am I available and stuff like that. So I tell him when I'm available. He sets it up, gives me the address and stuff. And when I get there, there's nobody there. It's just like completely empty, except like this is during the height of pandemic in 2020.
Right.
So you have Danny Pena head to toe in this hazmat gear. I don't even know where he got it from. He looks like he's from a movie in the 90s. He's just head to toe. All I could see are his eyes, and you could tell when like he had like a smirk, so he had like something was like he was being mischievous, something was going on. And he's like, "Hey, Mike," from all the way down the hall, and it's like empty. It's like an echo because that's how empty it is. I'm like, "Where is everybody?" And where's all the fans of Game Attack Radio? And he's like, "Hey, Mike, what's going on?" And I was like, "Hey, Danny, what's going on here?" And then he's like, "This is not what you thought it was gonna be. And come have a seat." And he sat me down this chair, and I see the Xbox right there, the Xbox Series X. And then he's like, "Oh, you're gonna be, I've been following you on Twitter, and I know you're a fan of me, and the podcast." And this was during like a lot of like the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, and I was doing like some protesting events and stuff like that. And I remember reaching out on Twitter saying like because Danny was doing his thing too, his part. And I remember he like inspired me to do that. I never protest or I'd never done anything like that before. So I sent out a tweet, like, "Oh, Danny, you inspired me to do this," and I have a picture of me in my healthcare uniform, and I have a sign up, like just like a Black Lives Matter, because it was just a crazy time back then.
Man.
And he, that stuck with him, and then he decided to do something for a healthcare worker during the pandemic, and he knew I was a healthcare worker because of that. And so that's why he chose me, and he gave me a full hour of just playing the Xbox Series X. He
That's
put the
awesome.
controller in my hands, and that was it. There was nothing else. Just a full 60 minutes. And Tony Polanco, who was a good friend of Danny, was there too, and he does a podcast, cause called Throwdown Show. He was there. I'd never met him before, and he was there. He wanted to experience. he wants to, be there for the experience. So they gave me this incredible experience, and it was like there were news articles about it, and they made a like a YouTube video of it and stuff. And yeah, that really like changed my life like instantly, because it wasn't just that I was able to play the Xbox and fit, 5 seconds of fame type of experience, but it was after that hour was done and we cracked a couple beers and we just started talking about games. And that's when like everything like lit up. Like I was like, whoa, like I'm talking to people that love games the way I do, and just like as if you were talking to somebody about your favorite sport team. Like
Yeah.
for me, the Yankees. Like if I was speaking to somebody about the Yankees, you get that good feeling, and you talk about it. Same thing with video games. I love video games so much. It's my passion, and speaking to Tony and Danny about it, with beer, was just like it was the best experience in the world.
Right.
And so that's kind of what drew me to the gaming community. Like I just want to speak to people about games and just what we enjoy. And so what got me into podcasting was my podcast was I was in a hospital because I don't know if you know, but I work as a nurse. I'm a registered nurse in the ER,
Oh,
and
nice. Okay.
I was in the South Bronx at this time, Lincoln Hospital. And one of the residents, physicians, came up to me one day just randomly. And he's like, "Hey, aren't you the guy that played the Xbox?" Because yeah, at that time I didn't tell anybody. Like after the event, there was nobody really to talk to. I didn't know any like people who played games in the hospital. And this doctor comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, I saw an article. Wasn't that you?" And I was like, "Yeah, like, oh, do you play games?" And he's like, "Yeah, I play games all the time." And then I was like, "Wait, what?" So I was like confused, like what is the doctor playing video games? Like which is sad, it's bad. I shouldn't be thinking like that, but that's just a natural reaction, like like you don't really think of doctors as video game, like gamers, like
For sure.
hardcore gamers, right? Yeah, and he told me, yeah, I play COD all the time and blah blah blah. So then that kind of like a light bulb just hit me, and I was like, wait, this, like I'm in the healthcare industry. I'm a nurse, and I play games all the time. So when a doctor comes up to me says he plays games all the time, like why am I so shocked? And so then it hit me. I was like, man, there's got to be a lot of people out there with different jobs, different careers, different walks of life that play video games that you could walk down the street and not know that they're gamers. And then that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to like break that like glass of like people thinking, okay, what does a gamer look like to you? Is it someone just on a couch or in a basement playing video games all day, or could it be like a lawyer or a doctor or a teacher or a dentist or a politician or anything like that? And can they be gamers? So I uh, I started reaching out to people, and I created this podcast, Gamers University podcast. And what I do in each episode, I speak to a different person about what they do for a living, which actually becomes like my favorite part because I learned so much about different careers and jobs and stuff. And then the second part of the podcast is like games, what games they play, stuff like that. And so I've spoken to teachers, assistant principal. I've spoken to the doctor, a couple doctors, a lawyer, and just different professions. And it's just amazing learning like what they do for a living and how we both relate, and how we all relate, when it comes to our passion for games.
Yeah, and I love that too. I mean, it's always nice to meet someone that you wouldn't expect to be playing a video game, right? I mean, I've definitely had that moment. Working in the past at GameStop, having people come in and just being like, "Oh wow!" Like I just I wouldn't guess that right off the bat. You know what I mean? So I
For
completely
sure, for
agree.
sure. Yeah, especially working in the retail industry, as big as like GameStop, you come across every single person who's a gamer
Yep.
goes in there, right? If you're going in there, it's not like accidentally you were looking for sneakers and you
You
accidentally
just
went to the wrong
wandered in.
store, right? You going in there, you're a gamer, so you
For
must
sure.
have met like so many different professions, and it's just incredible, you know.
Yeah, and I would love to get the opportunity to sit down and be able to have that discussion of what maybe their favorite game is, or why do they like video games, or why do they have that passion for video games. So I don't know. I've really enjoyed listening to your podcast and listening to their stories and just getting to see uh, you know most people have podcasts, bringing on content creators or streamers or game devs. So it's very refreshing to see, just two people that have a regular job and being able to
Hmm.
discuss something that they are passionate about. And that's been a lot of fun for me to watch and listen to. Of
Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
course. And then, like you said, huge shout out to the GOAT, Danny. He is a reason that I am here as well. So I found Gamertag Radio back in, I believe, 2015.
Hmm.
And that was just a light bulb went off in my head of, maybe I could try podcasting, maybe I could try this. And then just through the years of seeing Danny grow and just, hell, last week he made a
Hmm.
video talking about just giving back to the community and,
Yeah.
just making sure that you're there for the people that are there for you. And I don't know, he's definitely a goat. So shout out to Danny for sure.
Yeah, and there's what's great about Danny. Shout out to the goat. After spending time with him and like considering him a friend, he is genuine and he really cares about the community in a way that is so refreshing in an industry where it's like a lot of it could feel like it's about making money or getting to the top or like getting free stuff or trying to get as many like it's a tech industry, so you want to get the newest products and you want to get the things for free,
Right.
free game codes and reviews and stuff like that. That's everyone's dream, right? But his dream is more like community involvement. I think that has a lot to do with like his past with like the radio and stuff like that and hip hop and stuff like that. Just being involved with the community, and seeing and like getting the community involved. Like some of my favorite episodes are like fan questions or stuff like that, where the fans get involved. And I think it's a genius idea of like doing a podcast and getting the fans interaction, just like a radio show. You listen to radio, we take it for granted, that people call in and they
Yep.
give their opinions in the local, let's say sports or local music and stuff like that. And then he has that mentality of like listening to the people, and the way he's like risen up, becoming a Hall of Famer and stuff like that in podcasts. Now he's trying to like give back to his community, especially like the Latin community and everybody else, to really help them rise up and oh sorry
All good.
really help them rise up in the industry. Like that guy's done so much for me. I never would have done this, and I guess you as well. Like we've never would have done this if it wasn't for someone like Danny, who was like he could do it. And it's not like we're trying to do it better than him or anything like that. We're just trying to use his inspiration and just join the community ourselves
For sure.
and just have like a voice in the gaming community.
And that's the thing I like most about just creating content in general is that there's
Mhm.
so much inspiration that is around all of us, and we can do so much with it. We're never trying to be better, like, oh, I can take a podcast and make it better. There's never something like that. Just like the way that Versus was created, it was just something that I hadn't seen before, and I said,
Mhm.
why not? Let's just try it out and see what happens. So, and that all stems from the YouTubers I grew up watching, and then diving into podcast creators such as Danny and Paris and Pete, and then just now here we are in 2022, and I get to have a podcast, sit down, and talk about video games, which is my favorite thing to do.
Isn't that incredible, man? That we get to do this. It's man, it's such a privilege. I'm super honored to be here and doing this with you and having my podcast as well. it's just so much fun. You know what I mean? It's so much fun,
Absolutely.
and I'm just so glad that we're able to do it. You know what I mean?
Discussing your top 5 boss fights of all time. So, if anyone that is unfamiliar with this show, if you haven't seen the episode with Jason, this show is all about my guests' top 5 boss fights of all time. And we kind of discuss why that is. It could be the music, the fight itself. Maybe the game is just super dope and you found a cool boss fight in that game. Whatever it might be, that is the reason why it is your favorite boss fight. So we're going to go from number 5 to 1. So
Hmm.
what is your number 5?
So for each one, I've chosen like different either category or something like that. I try not to like kind of keep them the same. So like for instance, like action games. There's a lot of like great set piece video games like God of War and stuff like that. And with so many great fights, you could list like 5 of them right there and just
Yep.
just one game, right? So I tried to like split it up in different like categories. So for the first one, I was 11 years old when this came out, 1998, and it's similar to what Jason picked, I believe, for his number 5. It's the same franchise. I don't know if you remember. I think, and it's Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, yes.
And I went with which he mentioned, but he didn't choose, which was bad on him. Just
Silly
kidding, Jason.
Jason. You messed up,
He
Jason.
didn't. And that was a Psycho Mantis. The
Oh,
Psycho
okay.
Mantis, yes. The reason why is because it's not that it was like incredible action packed boss fight, right? It was pretty like average. There's a ton of boss fights in Metal Gear Solid that it's just jam packed with action and it's very intense and stuff like that. But nothing blew my mind at the time as 11-year-old as breaking the fourth wall, which Psycho Mantis did. Never seen that before. So just for people who have never played the original Metal Gear Solid, it came out for PlayStation 1, which was an incredible console system when it came out. CD-ROM, fantastic 3D graphics are here. Good sound, stuff like that. And so Sony was just like killing it, right? And then Kojima, which who we mentioned earlier, very like movie minded, very like director style type of guy. Very like weird with his choices and gameplay and design and stuff like that. He comes out with Metal Gear Solid, a great like spy action game and stuff like that. Incredible game, probably like one of the greatest games of all time if you really think about it. So Psycho Mantis was a boss who like he had like mental like powers, so he could like get inside your mind. And so the boss, and in the boss fight, he's controlling this woman. I forget her name. I think the daughter of the colonel, who's like a side character that you like speak to on the radio, the comm that you have throughout the game. And his daughter's like being possessed by Psycho Mantis, and he has a gun on her head, and he's like controlling her. So, Solid Snake, he's trying to avoid her getting hurt, and in order to do that, he has to like subdue her in order to get to Psycho Mantis. So in order to help her, he has to hurt her in some way. He
Right.
had to like put her down. So you just like boop, 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 boop. You hit her a couple times, knock her down, and it actually helps her because now the gun's down. Now she can't hurt herself, and then you can focus on Psycho Mantis. So you do that a few times, right? And then what gets crazy is he decides to show off his powers in this video game. And Kojima did I don't know if it was him. I don't know who in his team decided to do this, but it blew my mind as an 11-year-old. He decided as the boss, right, to give him powers that would break the fourth wall, which was crazy back then. So he started to speak to Solid Snake, a little back and forth, telling him, why I'm such a badass. And he says, I could like read your mind. Oh, you don't believe me, right? So And at this point, I'm thinking he's talking to Solid Snake. No, he's actually talking to
To
you,
you.
the player, the one with the controller in your hands. And he's like, I'm gonna read your mind and get inside your head. And I'm like, wait, what? And then he starts naming games that you play when you're not playing Metal Gear. I'm like, what? How's he even doing this? I'm looking around, are there cameras around? Thinking like I don't know how he's doing this. And he reads off games that are in my memory card because when the first PlayStation came out, you had actual memory cards that would pieces that would go inside on top of the controller, and that's where you would save your game data and stuff like that. So don't lose that. If you lost that
You're done.
memory card,
Gotta
you're
restart.
screwed. Or if it breaks, or if it gets damaged, wet, or anything like that, all your data's gone. And actually, the memory cards back then were actual slots, like in inventory, like the RPGs that we hate. You know,
Right.
we hate those RPGs. It's like a love hate, right? You kind of love it, but you hate it sometimes. Where like in Resident Evil, like you have weapons and stuff like that, and you have to fit it into the slots that are there with
Yep.
the limited space. And memory cards had that. What? So Sony's memory system was in that way physically. You had to put where your games are in the space and stuff like that and fit it in. Wow, that was, now that I'm thinking about it,
What a
that was
time to
insane
live.
back then. Yeah, what a crazy time, man. The kids nowadays, they don't know the struggle,
Yeah,
right?
no, you don't have to worry about like the GameCube memory cards or like
Yeah.
oh man, just what a time to live where now you can just press pause, hit save, you're good to go. Or like auto
Yeah,
saves.
or don't
Lovely.
even save. Just shut it off
Yep.
and like Xbox, quick resume.
Yeah,
You
the quick
turn it back
resume.
on. Oh, don't even don't. You could change the game. Don't worry with
Yep.
quick resume. You could play 5 different games and then go back to the first one. And I mean, kids are so spoiled nowadays,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Oh my god, jeez. But back then, our memories was like physical objects.
Yep.
So our save data was physically on these memory card slots. So he was reading that and he was telling you about the games that I'm playing. And like if you're next to, like, if you're trying to impress like your girlfriend next to you and you're playing some embarrassing games like Barbie or something like that, he'll embarrass you. You have to be careful what you're playing, because he's like, oh, I see you're into to the newest Barbie PlayStation game or whatever, right? So
Right.
so he names the games that you play. And then he's like, okay, I'll take it a step further. If you don't understand my true powers, he's like, put the controller down, put it on the floor. Okay, good job. Now watch what I'm gonna do. Oh, what's it? Oh. And sorry, I get a
You're
notification.
good.
So he's like, put the controller down. You put it down. Oh, good job. Now watch this. And he goes bing bang boom with his powers, and all of a sudden the controller in your house starts shaking.
Yep.
And he starts moving it like he said he would. I'm gonna move the controller around. And I'm like, oh my god, I had to grab my father, who was like, he would play games with me every once in a while. I had to grab him, bring him over. Look what's happening and stuff like that. Um, so, and on top of that, in order to like not to defeat, in order to like get ahead of him, right? Because he has all this mind powers. In order to get the upper hand, the colonel gets on the comm and he's like, Snake, Solid Snake, change the controller port to player 2. And if you do that, he won't be able to read your mind. And I was like, wait, what? So another breaking of the fourth wall. So I remember unplugging the controller, putting it in player 2, and thinking, this can't be real. This can't be happening right now. This can't work. And I do it, and then all of a sudden he's like, hey, what's going on? I can no longer read your mind or whatever. And then you're able to defeat him, with ease and stuff like that. And my God, what an incredible boss fight. The design and the mind of Kojima and his team to do that, unbelievable. And it's still with me to this day. I was 11 years. I'm 34 and gonna be 35. When I was 11 years old, that's what 24 years ago. I still remember to this day and that how impactful that was in gaming. So that's my number 5.
I love it. That's a huge pick. And it's wild to me that Jason didn't pick that one, because like, I mean, Metal Gear has, as even just as a franchise, has a lot of great boss fights. But yeah, I mean, Psycho Mantis. Listen, I would do anything to Tata Kojima. I like anything in the world just to sit down
Yeah.
and get inside his mind. Just like 5 minutes. Just a 5 minute conversation, me and Kojima trying to figure out what makes him tick. And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He is just,
I
I
think you
love
need
him.
more than 5 minutes. You need probably like
Oh
five
yeah,
hours.
for sure. I don't know if he would give me 5 hours. I mean, if anyone from Kojima's like team is watching this, I doubt it. But
Yeah.
hey, reach out. All right, I want to talk because I just want to know. Like, I just want to. He is a genius in anything he
For sure.
does. It's
If he
great.
comes out with like an audiobook, I don't know if he ever has,
I don't
but if he
think he
does,
has.
yeah, I don't think he has. But if he does, and he talks about the history of the games that he created and the ideas, especially like something like Psycho Mantis, like who and why. Of course, he was involved, but how did they come up with? It's not. There's so many ways to make a boss fight. You know what I mean? Epics and scale and this and that. But to break the fourth wall the way he did, is just genius. It
Yep,
really is. Is why he's one of the greatest minds in the gaming industry, for sure.
absolutely. And I mean, especially trying to like unplug the controller and plug it into like port two is just so like who does that? Who was
Mhm.
doing that? Like,
Yeah,
unless you were
yeah,
playing a two-player game, who was doing that? So
yeah.
I love it.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Solid pick. I'm
Thank you.
excited
Thank
to
you.
see where this list goes from there because I would have that pretty high up. So starting that at 5 is that's good. That's really good.
Okay. Cool. 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 So my number four. Well, the number five was pretty. It was pretty. Yeah, I agree. That was a pretty banger choice. So this next one is has to do with like the action category, right? So I went with God of War for this
Yes.
one, and not the 2018, right?
Oh,
Um,
okay, okay.
I went with the original trilogy for this one because I mean God of War 2018 was incredible. It's one of the greatest games of all time, but it's not the same as the original God of War in terms of like the the brutal gore and the brutality of the violence and the action and the metal, you know, of the original God of War, like that heart and soul of just metal and just badassery. I don't know if that's a word, but it should
It's
be.
a word now.
Yeah, it is now because it's on YouTube. So the badassery of God of War, right? So I went with God of War 3, which I feel like it was the apex of that trilogy of just like the height of just the action, right? And the set pieces and stuff like that. And there were a lot of bosses to choose here. So you had like Chronos, so that gigantic epic scale type of fight, um where you just like you're walking on someone's arm and you're climbing and it's just gigantic, right? And stuff like that. Then you have like the first one where it's like I believe it's the first boss, where it's Poseidon, and I think Rhea is there too, and you're just it's just massive and it's gigantic, and you're just the scale is unbelievable, so epic. And then you have Hercules, which is like, you know, everyone knows about Hercules,
Oh yeah.
right? So you got the powerful, the strongest god, and he's not really a villain. So it's like, wait a second, you know, like Hercules, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be on my side, if anything. Like you're supposed to be helping me, but of course he's a god, and so you know, it's God of War. So you're in war with God. So if you're a god, stay away. You know what I mean? Either deny you're a god or something. Get away from Kratos, because if you're a god, he's coming after you.
Kratos killing them all.
So yeah, so you know, like, you know, sorry for Hercules, but he got in the way. Super epic battle, just brutal punches and stuff like that. Then you have Hades, which is like dark, very like gothic and just kind of scary, and you almost dread fighting him, because the whole level before you meet Hades, it's very dark. It's very um very like gruesome and stuff like that. So then when you get to him, it's an epic fight, right? But I went with the final fight, which is with Zeus
Yep.
for my number four. The reason why is because In this fight, I feel like you truly become Kratos, and you get to experience what it's like being a violent, crazy, god-killing machine in this one, because this is the ultimate fight. You're fighting Zeus himself, and the fight is epic like the other fights. It starts off like a fighter, so it's like side. It's like almost like a 2D, and you're fighting off, and then it just goes set piece to set piece. Rhea gets involved, so you have this massive scale again, and just epic backgrounds of like thunder and lightning and just crazy weather, right? And then you get into the heart of Rhea, and then you're fighting there and stuff like that. But the reason why I went with this is the very end, when you finally defeat Zeus and you are punching him, and you got the circle, you got that like that classic God of War has that like classic PlayStation feel of like the buttons, because there's a lot of, even though it's a button smasher, there's a lot of like set pieces where you have like button presses.
Right.
So like the set pieces are grand, and then you jump in the air, hit triangle, and then you're doing something. So in this one, in the very final, you're just using your hands and you're punching. The circle comes up to the bottom right, and it's an icon that tells you to punch. This is the time to do it. If you don't do it, like, now's the time. If you want to win, you have to fight. So you smash that circle button and you just keep going and you're punching him. Left, right, haymaker, haymaker, haymaker. Then blood starts splattering. Boom, boom, boom. And it's getting very violent, very gruesome. But then it keeps going. Then it keeps going. That's why it's number 4. Because you keep pressing circle, the blood keeps coming, and then it gets to the screen and it starts covering the screen. Blood, 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 blood. It covers the entire screen of blood to the point where you can't even see anymore.
Yep.
But you can tell, there's like an instinct. There's a tell that you still have to press the circle button. This fight ain't over for some reason. Blood all over the screen. You can't even see anything, but you can feel it. You can feel being Kratos and that just rage, and you just keep smashing until there's nothing left. Just keep going, keep going. So you're punching, 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 and you're just going crazy. And then finally it ends. And then it gets to the cutscene, and Zeus is just demolished, right? That's why it's my number 4. That's the ultimate fight in which you like become Kratos. Which you've done, which you've played 3 like epic games at this point, and then at the final fight, you see the brutal nature of Kratos, and you really become the ultimate killing machine at that point. That's
Absolutely.
my number 4.
That's another banger. That is, I don't know, the God of War franchise. Like we talked briefly about 2018 and how good 2018 is, but 1, 2, and 3, man, those were the starters, and they're great games in their own right, and very very different, very metal, and very PS2, PS3 kind of style games, and I still like them. They're still fun. I think I enjoy 2018 slightly more, just on what they did, but I mean, come on, good hack and slash games, great games for the era that they were in, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think Jason chose the fight, what was it called, The Stranger or whatever like that. God of War, that was such an epic fight. My goodness, because the guy couldn't die, right? He had like a regeneration. He could just regenerate. So like, how do you even defeat someone who could just regenerate? And so you have this epic fight. My God, it was incredible. The 2018 God of War. Shout out to that one. I can't,
Absolutely.
man. Making me think of it. I cannot wait for Ragnarok.
November 11th.
That's like
remember?
why I got the PS5, man. Huh?
It's got to be November 11th. Don't forget.
I can't wait. I can't wait for November 11th. Honestly, I can't.
Hopefully, I don't look back tomorrow on this episode and I'm like, damn, it got delayed till 2023. No.
I know. Which is if it honestly, if they do not show it in E3, it's definitely not coming out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so that's why it has to show, so we'll know. Like Sony has to show it. even if it does come out this year and they decided not to do it, that would have been like the wrong choice. Like that means you must have rushed it, which we don't want. We don't
Yep.
want games rushed.
Absolutely
But if
not.
it's coming out this year, you have to show it in E3. You know, what I
I
mean, you just
agree.
have to.
I agree.
Hmm.
All right, good sir. We are, I guess, at the halfway point, right? What's
Yeah, yeah,
two? I guess two and a
yeah.
half would be halfway point, but we're at three. That's fine.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
number three?
Oh, so number three, I don't think you're gonna get another person to come in and mention this one. It's very I would say like an odd choice. But I'm gonna explain why I chose this as my number three.
Okay.
So there are a lot of like for this one this one's like a platformer, right? And platformers could be very like epic in terms of its like boss fights. You have like classics out there. You know, like for like recently, I'll give a shout out to like Ori and the Blind Forest and Will of the Wisps. They have like very like intense like running from something or something like that, and you finally make it, and you're just like, oh, and your heart's racing and stuff like that. Um, I chose a platformer that was it's like one of my favorite games of all time, and it had like an emotional punch, kind of similar to like The Last of Us did for you, and stuff like that, and maybe even Death Stranding because of the pandemic and stuff. So I chose Celeste
Ooh,
for my number
yes.
three. Yeah, so I don't know if you're gonna have anybody come here, boss fights, choosing Celeste, especially that high, you know.
Right.
So I went with Celeste with in chapter 6 fighting Battleline, right? Which is like the alter ego or the other side or the other person of Madeline. Madeline's like the main character of Celeste. And just to give you like a backstory or like a little synopsis of what the game's about. Celeste is a very simple concept. So you have this girl, her name's Madeline, and she wants to climb a mountain. But she does it because she wants to like face her fears. She wants to face her anxieties, and she wants to prove it to herself that it can be done. And it's a fantastic platformer, and it has incredible controls. Like it's super sharp. You're jumping. You got double jumps, dash, right? Your classics, right? And you're just going through the platform, and you're gonna die a lot. It's very difficult, but it's one of those games where it's like instant. You return, so you just go right back into it, right back into the level. And so in this game, it's the reason why it's so emotional is because it deals with mental illness, and whether you yourself or a loved one, somebody around you has like a mental illness. It's just there's a lot of people out there that deal with either depression, anxieties, like fear and different issues like that. Um, and uh, and so I don't personally have stuff like that to that level. But I have people in my family who might have some problems like that or conditions that they have to deal with, and so you kind of in this game you get into the mind of somebody who has these conditions. So you get into the mind of somebody with real anxiety and real depression and real issues that she tries to face in this game, and it's done so well. It's masterfully done in terms of getting into the mindset of someone like Madeline, who's going through something, and the music is fantastic. It really hits you. The those levels really hit you emotionally with the music, and so she's just like any typical game where you're dealing with you want to get to the top of a mountain, so you want to face your fears, right? That's very classic. She there is this one part where she looks at a mirror and she meets Badeline, or she meets the other part of her, and she's dressed differently. She looks like her, but she's different. So she has purple hair. She's more gothic. She has like a different personality, and she bursts out the mirror and she becomes like she's alive. And so basically, Badeline represents the side of Madeline, or the side of, I think, every individual that has like fear, anxiety, maybe some depression, or stuff like that, anger, or all those that you would consider negative emotions. But and so she manifests that into her image, into her form. And Madeline, throughout the game, she's trying to like conquer those demons, right? So at one point in the game, around chapter 6, she decides that she no longer like wants Badeline to be a part of her. She's like she goes up to her and she says, "I don't need to be with you anymore. I don't need you. I'm gonna be fearless. I'm gonna be without anger. I'm gonna be without any of this stuff. I don't need anxiety. I don't need any of this stuff. That means I don't need you, and we're cut off." And at first she does it, but she with I think the intention was supposed to be good. She was trying to um give herself strength, like, oh, I don't need fear, I don't need anxiety, so I don't need any of that stuff. But what it does is it actually like turns on her, and Badeline she's like offended, basically like, oh, you don't need me. um so she's like, fine, I'm done with you. I'm done with you then. So the level becomes like you start chasing her. So you start like trying to get to her, and you're going through this platform, and the music is so intense. And then at the end of it, you get to Battleline, and she's not what you would think. Like, you would think you're conquering, fear and anxiety, and you're conquering that stuff. So you would think she's like a boss in terms like someone to defeat, but it ends up the opposite. Battleline ends up very sad that you no longer need to be with her, and like she's not needed anymore, and she's like useless now. And Madeline, it hits Madeline now that in order to actually climb this mountain, I'm gonna need her. I'm not as strong, like, just a part of me. Like, Battleline is actually a part of me, and I need to be whole in order to climb this mountain. Um, and and it shows that like you can have anxiety, you can have fear, you can have depression and stuff like that, but it's trying to find a balance. And so like at the end of it, they hug and they become one, and they become like a partnership. And I've never seen a game accept fear and anxiety and feeling, all those type of emotions as like a good thing. They spin it, and so that it's like it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be depressed sometimes, or sad. It's okay to have anxiety, but it's not okay to take it to the extreme. You know what I mean?
Right.
To the point where you're not getting out of bed. That type of depression, or you're not trying to climb this mountain because you let the anxiety get to you, or too much, or the fear, you let the fear get to you where you don't pursue your goals, or pursue something you want to do in life. So it's okay to be afraid, but you have to control it. You have to accept it, and you have to work with it. You know what I mean? Don't let it control you, and don't try to avoid it either. Don't try to act like you're fearless. Don't try to act like it's bad to have depression. You know what I mean? There's like, when that game came out, mental illness was like becoming more like aware. Like, people were becoming more comfortable saying like, "Hey, I suffered from depression." You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. And the more you talk about it, actually, the easier it gets, because then people could either relate to you, or you could speak to somebody about it, and then it'll help be like an outlet for you to like express your emotions, and kind of like be okay with it and talk about it. And so that's what this level did. That it told Madeline it's okay to accept your fears and stuff like that, and have it be a part of you because it's gonna make you actually stronger in the end. And I thought it had to be in here because it was an incredible part of like the gaming history. Like it's incredible what Celeste did in terms of talking about mental illness and stuff like that. And the developers, I give them all the credit in the world for creating such an amazing game and one of my favorite games of all time. So yeah, that's my number 3.
It's an awesome pick, and that is unfortunately one game I still haven't found my way to playing. I hear about it all the time, and it really struck me because I mean, like you said, that game came out at the time of, like, I mean, obviously, you know, people have talked about depression or mental illness or anxiety. Like, people have obviously talked about that, but that was one of the first games to me that really embraced that and really, you know, dived into it. And I believe the creator, I believe they even talked about that and dealing with their own issues and trying to express that through a game for everyone else. So I've looked up some things. I've seen a few gameplay here and there. But I myself, for some reason, like I love platformers, but I just haven't found a way to getting around to playing it, I guess.
Right.
Eventually I will, because I keep hearing about it. I keep hearing how great it is, and I do want to experience it. So yeah, hopefully get around to that soon. But I have listened to the soundtrack, which I do know a lot of people hold very highly.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm very happy to see that is on a list for sure. And you might be right. You might be one of the only people to do it. But I mean, who knows? Maybe later on this year we'll see if someone else throws that in there. Or maybe a different boss fight in there. But yeah,
it's good to talk about it because now it'll give you like a chance to maybe get into it. You know, like try it out. I think, is it on Game Pass?
I'm almost positive it is. I think I
Yeah?
saw it last year for sure. It was, because for some reason, again, last year I opened up Game Pass, I saw it, and I said, I'm gonna play it. I didn't play it.
Yeah.
I got busy playing something else.
Once I'm telling you, give it 5 minutes. That's all you need. Just 5 minutes and you're hooked. Because because after telling you about the story, of course, you're gonna be intrigued and the music and stuff like that. But the controls, like, it's not enough that it had like a message. Like some games have messages and it's like, oh yeah, the message is cool, but the gameplay, it's not that great.
Right.
The gameplay has its own like standout. Like it could just, without the story and without the strong message, the gameplay itself, you're gonna have a ton of fun. And even if you die, even if you're not great at it, boom, you're instantly back into it. As soon as you fall, you're right back. And it's like, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with falling. You get right back up instantly, which is great.
Hell yeah, awesome. Hey, I'm used to falling thanks to FromSoft. I'm very used to getting my ass kicked and then get right back up, try it again.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Check it out for sure.
I will make sure to write that on the list and try to get to it sooner than later. I mean, I got all the time during summertime. Not a lot of games, obviously, are coming out.
Yeah.
Backlog season, as people say. So.
That's right.
Awesome. All right, good sir. We are down to the last two.
Okay.
Top two now.
I mentioned Elden Ring. Like I gave a little hint that it would be in this.
Praise the Elden Lords.
The Elden Lords, yes. But that's gonna have to wait, actually.
Ooh, okay.
Because I'm gonna go with number 2, and it's not Elden Ring. It is a fighting game. So I've had different categories. Yeah. So I had different categories, and now I'm on to like a fighting game. I wanted to get a fighting game in there. So when I'm thinking about fighting games, I'm like, what are some of the best fighting games out there? So I do some research. I try to see what's out there, and you have your like classic like Smash Brothers. The hand, Master Hand is great because it's like you're fighting the creator. You know what I mean? Like how cool is that? Like it's meta. It's very meta. You know what I mean?
Love that
Uh,
idea.
I thought that always stands out as like a great villain. Then you have like Mortal Kombat and Shao Kahn, and then stuff like that, and that's fantastic too. But for me, when I like close my eyes and I have to give you an answer of like what fighting game, what's the boss I think of, who do I fear, or like something like that, it's Street Fighter 2 and Bison. That
Nice.
is my boss. That is the boss of bosses, I feel like.
I do like that pick. Street Fighter 2, funny enough, was the only Street Fighter I've ever played. Um,
Nice.
love Street Fighter 2. I wish I was
Some
good
would say
at
that's
it.
the only one you have to play.
I guess that's fair. I actually just recently picked up Street Fighter 5 after seeing Street Fighter 6. That game
Oh
looks
my god,
dope.
I was gonna do
So
the same thing. So I might do that too.
yeah, it's been fun. It's definitely a learning curve for me because growing up, my fighting games were always Mortal Kombat. And I mean, even now, like I'm not great at it. I'm okay at Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat. And then Super Smash. I mean, I feel like almost anyone and everyone has played a Smash game at least once. So Smash, I'm familiar with.
Mhm.
Tekken, I'm not great at, but I like playing Tekken. But yeah, Street Fighter was always the one that got away from me. But Street Fighter 2, it's a great pick. And Bison
Yeah.
is, I mean, he is boss is a boss
Yeah.
for fighting games for sure.
And I'll explain why. So you get a lot of bosses that are like tall, big, strong, powerful, quick, cheesy with like like things protecting them and stuff like that. And Bison gives you like none of that. He's just like I'm super strong. And I'm super quick. I'm super smart. Like whatever you got, I got that, and then some. Come at me.
Yep.
So you fight him, and you see him finally, right? At the end, he has this like awesome red cape, and he's just super styled, just like head to toe. His muscles are crazy, so you could tell like he's super strong. But the way he fights is like, yeah, he's strong, but he's nimble. You know what I mean? So he'll slide and he'll like dash at you with his attacks, and he was frustrating, man. He was so difficult. I remember as a kid to beat this guy, and I was like afraid of him. He was just so strong, so quick, and everything. Um, it's he's one of the coolest looking bosses I've ever seen. And I feel like he could go toe to toe with anybody. Even other bosses out there, he's like fearless. And I just love how like he represents strength and power, right? For somebody that you wouldn't like expect in a sense. He's not a monster. He doesn't have magic like that coming out and stuff like that. He's just strong willed, right? He's got that power for the sake of just having power. And it looks like and it feels like he like fought for it. And he like earned every like fight that he won, he earned it, right? And now he's the guy to beat. And I just love I love and fear the guy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Love fear relationship with Bison.
Yeah, it's a love fear. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's my guy. I wanted to get a fighting game out there, because when you think about boss fights, I feel like you have to put a fighting game there, because that's the classic boss fight. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that is the classic, um, level design. You fight, you go through this either tournament, or you go through all these levels to fight the final baddie, and you have you don't have anyone better, I feel like, than Bison to represent the final baddie that you have to take down.
Yeah, I love that pick, and I love seeing fighting games get acknowledged. I believe Jason also picked a Street Fighter boss, or at least it was an honorable mention. Maybe he definitely brought up
Yeah,
Street
yeah, no,
Fighter.
it was an honorable mention. He honorably mentioned in Bison, which was Cool, but I can't remember what he picked. I
No,
think it
you
was in the
bet.
fighting genre. I would say.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, you know what? It was man. Oh, I had it and then I lost it.
happens
Forgot.
to all of us. That's
That
all
that means
right.
that means everyone has to listen to the first episode. There you
Right?
go.
There we go. Awesome. But yeah, I love seeing fighting games get represented. I feel like not enough people think about them, especially in that boss fight realm. I feel like a lot of
Mm.
people, which to be fair, there are hundreds, I mean thousands of boss fights out there, so it's always tough to kind of put it down. But Bison getting some
Yeah.
love, that feels good. That feels good for
That's
sure.
right.
And then before we jump into your number one,
Okay.
we're gonna do one honorable mention for you. Just off the top of your head, just one honorable mention could be another Elden Ring boss, since we're on that Elden Ring
Oh
hype
yes.
still.
Okay.
It could be another Street Fighter boss, could be Metal Gear. Just a quick honorable mention for you.
So I'll give a couple. I would go with 2018 God of War was incredible. So I want to give a shout out to I think it was the Stranger. I
Stranger.
forget the character's name, right? Stranger.
Yeah.
That was a very epic fight. My God, through the cabin and the woods and using the entire tree to swing at
Yep.
people and it was just intense and just the back and forth, just the smack talking that was going between it was mostly mostly one sided smack talking
Yeah. Stranger talking a
and
lot of
just
smack.
yeah, he was a lot of smack before he ended up getting smacked.
Oh
So,
yeah. Love
so
it.
yeah, I'll give a shout out to that. Platformers, I want to give a good shout out to Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Um, fantastic platformer. Another emotional game. Isn't I don't feel like it's as emotional or as important emotionally as Celeste, which had like more of a message to give people. Ori was emotional in terms of its like epic storytelling of like um a small creature doing big things, right? Kind of like your classic Hobbit, Lord of the Rings type of story where it's like even the smallest creature could have enormous impact in the world. And Ori's like final against, I think it was like the spider or something like that, just trying to survive and run through, and the platforming was incredible. You have water coming down from like creeks breaking or whatever. You're just dashing, you're barely surviving. They're snapping at you and it like barely misses and stuff like that, and your heart's racing. Oh man, definitely one of my favorite moments. And then Elden Ring. What can I say about Elden Ring other than it's the greatest game of all time?
Let's go. Let's go.
so so with that being said, there were a ton of bosses. So shout out to Godric, right? Godric, I believe Godric was the first boss, right? The first one you meet. Was that right?
I think he's second
Godric the
technically.
Grafted.
Yeah, because
Was it the second?
I think it's Margaret first. That's kind of
Ah,
like
okay.
your tease, and then Godric is like the first
Okay, okay.
like this is an ass kicking fight.
Right. Godric was great, man. Godric was a great fight. The classic Millennia, what is she? Blade of Makilla. Oh my gosh.
That's my number one Elden Ring boss. That is
Oh
number one for me.
yes, yes. That is a good one. So I definitely had to shout her out. And I give her an honorable mention because I played towards the end. I played a lot of the bosses with like a party. So it was me and a couple guys, and we faced like the last few bosses together, and it was like our thing, and it was like our experience. It was as much of a multiplayer game as anything that I've ever played, because it was our journey, and every time we would beat a boss, we would have to switch over to let the other guy do it, and so we were all experiencing it. And Millennia, and so it was three of us. She would kick our butts in the beginning. My goodness, and then eventually after a while you start seeing the repetition, you start seeing her over and over, then then you can start dodging her attacks, and then all of a sudden that insta kill swipes that she was doing, now you could actually dodge it because you've seen it so much, you know exactly where to be. And stuff like that felt good, of course, just like any from software game. Repetition and learning, and educating yourself about how to fight a boss makes you better. And then it's just a good feeling. It's such a great feeling, right? So you have that boss fight. That wasn't so epic. Then you have Renala, Queen of the Full Moon. Man, that the set piece there. I mean, the first part was kind of boring and whack, right? She's just there. She's got her
Gotta hit the
creepy.
minions.
Oh my god, that was the creepiest thing. I mean, they're just there. Some of them laying down, crawling at you, and so you have to defeat them all. That first part is not great. That's why it's not my number one, right? So it's not great. But the second part, where you see the moon the set piece is the music is so serene, and she comes at you with like so many attacks. She throws a moon at you. Just the music and just the atmosphere is fantastic. I had to give her a shout out. But so those are like my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Um, there are a ton. I mean, that's why this is such a great show you have. Is like such a great concept because there's so many bosses out there. It's hard to name them all, you know. But let's go with my number one. My number one is in Elden Ring. I haven't mentioned him yet.
Oh, here we go. I'm excited.
Yeah, it is the great Star Scourge Radon,
Oh
right?
man, here we go. Big
Yeah.
man, tiny
So
horse.
he's not the hardest, right? He's not the hardest. I would say Millennia is probably the hardest. He um he is the best though for me because when you think about Elden Ring, you think about, for me it's the greatest game of all time. It is an open world. It's not perfect, right? You have glitches here and there, stuff like that. It's not polished. It's not 100%, right? But for me, it's a 10 out of 10 because because of the art style, because of it's just a beautiful game. There's times where you just stop and you're in awe. It's not the most graphically like high pixels. It's not your Ratchet and Clank, right? Which is blows it out the water if you're talking about graphics.
Right.
But art style, it's not even close, right? Seeing a beautiful tree that's just golden, and I mean, I remember doing a tweet out months ago saying like Bob Ross would be like, he would be so happy because to see all these trees and the way they're designed so beautiful, like he would just be so happy to play that game. And it's true, like, yeah, the game is brutal and stuff like that, but it's also beautiful. And um and the art style is amazing. There's so many jaw-dropping moments where you just walking and you see an epic horizon in front of you. You see a castle ahead, and you know it's gonna be death. Like, but you're like, I have to see what's over there. I have to go. And the game is just like, people compare it sometimes to Breath of the Wild, and that's because of the openness and the ability to just do whatever you want. And I would say it has like way more stuff to do. I mean, there's even an underground level, which is mind blowing, right? There's a whole section underground of its own map and its own things going on. So, um, so I love the game. That's why I love the game so much. It's just so epic, so beautiful. The combat is brutal, but it's like it's not crazy because you have the horse. You can kind of run around. You can escape. It's not it's I would say it's not the hardest Dark Souls because I never beat a Dark Souls game before. I never beaten Bloodborne. Forget it. I played like 5 minutes of that. I couldn't even pass the first level, like the first area. It's so brutal. And then you have the samurai one. What's that one called?
Sekiro.
Yeah, Sekiro. Come on, you have to
That
parry.
one, I
That's
popped into
brutal.
that after beating Elden Ring, and I was like, I could play this game. I beat Elden Ring. Nope, I got my ass beat playing that
Yeah,
game.
yeah, for real. And you know, it's cool, but it's not. It's tough. You know, it's a learning curve, which is cool. You know, the first Dark Souls I played, I went maybe a couple hours in there, but it's so brutal. You know, you have to level, you have to grind, and it's hard to even get through the first section, that first classic Dark Souls section, the of going through the castle and stuff. But this one hit different than any other from game before. So you have the horse, you have the open world, you could go anywhere you want, and the multiplayer. Yeah, it's not great in terms of like you need Earth Leaf and you gotta collect that and you have to summon in order to get your friends in. But when you do, you just get to be in the world together and and it's more like friendly to bring somebody involved. You know what I mean? Like it's more open that way. And so that being said, my favorite game right now. That being said, so Stars Gorge Radon, right? The reason why he's my number one is because it's it's epic in a way that I feel like trumps the other bosses. This is not just a boss fight; it's like an event. It's promoted. There's an announcer that's like, "Oh, come on, come on, come on! This is the fight against Radon. If you want to do it, he's ready because this is what he does. This is what he wants. To he wants somebody to beat him. He's begging for it. He wants that ultimate badass fight. And he knows that he's badass to the point where he's like, bring whoever you want. Just I don't mind dying. Just I want it to be epic. So you end up fighting with like people, NPCs that you've met. You've got Blade, the Wolf. You've got was it Alexander? I think the big teapot guy. You have
The
some other
best.
some yeah. You got some other characters, and they're in the fight with you because that's how badass this guy is. He knows that he is, so he wants to kind of make it a fair fight. You know, it's like he wants this fight. He wants it. You know, the other bosses, they're like defending something or whatever. They're not trying to fight the way Radon is. He wants that epic uh battle. And so he gives it to you. You start off, you get in there, and he throws these massive arrows at you that you have to like dodge, right? And the entire level is this grand scale like huge battlefield that you feel like armies have died trying to beat this guy. You get that sense of like, oh my god, like this guy has been decades of just dominating like any single person that tries to kill him. So you get that sense, right? And you get closer and closer because he starts off 500 yards away. Like you can't even see him. He's just that far away. You get closer on your horse, and you summon your buddies, and you see them charging because they know this is it. This is the epic battle of all battles, and they're with you to the death. And let's go. Let's do this. So you summon your guys, and they start going, and you dodge the arrows as much as you can till you get to him. And when you get there, you see him with these two massive swords. This giant beast of a guy, super massive, and he's riding on this like horse that's like he like
It's itty bitty.
like how does they even like hold him up? He's like it's so tiny. It's like oh my god, you have to feel bad for this poor horse, and or chariot, whatever it is. But he's massive, and whatever it is super tiny.
According to the lore, he
Mhm.
uses his gravity magic to hold himself on top of the horse. So apparently, the horse
Ah,
isn't hurt. I doubt it. I mean,
okay.
that's a large man on a small horse. I feel
Yeah.
like the horse is getting hurt, but hey, whatever FromSoft wants to tell us.
Yeah, and I feel like he's gotten bigger over the years of just killing all these potential like Elden Lord wannabes, and every time he defeats it, he just gets bigger and bigger, and he can't help it. You know what I mean? Like, he probably started off as just a regular guy on a horse, and he just got so massive, right? So anyway, so you're fighting him, and you have your guys, your NPCs to help you out, and he's tough. Of course, he's not the toughest out there. You're on your horse. You could dodge him a little bit easier, and if you're patient, it's okay. Like you'll get him every once in a while. You get close to him, dodge a little, slash. Then you get him to the phase two. You bring him about halfway health. And so what does he do? He like skyrockets into the air. And throughout this entire time, there's been epic like opera music, just like very like intense battle music has been going on. But as soon as he shoots up in the air, nothing. Silence. And you're like, wait, what? You're looking at the health bar like, did I beat him? Because you got so much going on. You're trying to dodge him. You're trying to do this. You don't know if you won or you don't know what happened. You look at the health bar. Wait, he's like at half. What happened? Then you notice because this entire time the music has gone in the background. You know what I mean? Like it's just there, and all of a sudden, once it stops, you're like, wait, what? Where's the music? And it's silence. And then you're like, where is this guy? Is he gonna come from on the ground? Is he gonna do this? Is he gonna do that? Then an asteroid hits the sky, and then the sky's like lights up, and then he comes rushing down as an asteroid, blam, shakes the whole foundation, and comes back, and then the music, he's like, turn it up, get the music back on.
Yep.
Let's do this. Cranks the music up. He hits it like as if there was a boombox next to him. Hits the play button, gets the music back going, and he's like, let's do this. This is a fight. Let's go. I'm ready. Round two. Then he comes with gravity moves. He comes with massive slashes that you have to jump and avoid with your horse. And of course, he's gonna destroy you a few times, right? But then eventually you bring him down and you destroy him. But man, what an epic fight that was. It was so grandiose. It was so it was like box office, right? It was everything you expected from going into the castle, hearing an announcer saying, "Oh, come on, this is the fight you've been waiting for. Come fight the great Radon, if you have what it takes." And you get there, and it's exactly what it's like. It's like box office. It's exactly what you paid for. It's blockbuster. It's epic in every way, and I feel like the way he like silenced the music and comes crashing in with the asteroid in the second part, that's what took it over the top for me. That was my number one.
I agree, and it's a great number one. I believe Radon is in my top 5 for Elden Ring bosses. I made a list when I was playing the game. I don't know that. I had no idea that he had a second stage, or I guess a second stage or a second life. Once the health bar got to half, and you're right, the music disappearing was like the first sign of what is going on, like what is about to happen. And then you slowly can hear like him coming in from the atmosphere. Like you can sort of hear it, and it's like just so subtle, and you're like, what the hell is going on? And then he just hits the ground. It's insane. Shout out to Elden Ring from Soft. I say it every time they release a game. I love their level design, love their soundtrack. Their set pieces are just phenomenal. And you talking about how this is some big festival, and it's this big, everyone has tried to fight Radon. And you see that in this level where you're running through the sands and you see these giant like spears and shields all on the ground. And I feel like they're almost graves of these people that have tried to fight him, and he just keeps beating people. I love that fight as well. I think it's a great one. I think it's a great number one pick. All of your picks were stellar today, but great number one pick for sure. And a quick shout out again to Elden Ring. Another boss fight that we didn't talk about in your honorable mentions, Malekith, the Black Blade. I think he has the best quote in the entire game, and it's when he is becoming, he goes from like the beast to this armored beast. And he is saying, he's talking to his sword, and he's saying, "Oh, death, become my blade once more." And it is the coolest line I've heard in the entire game. I get chills every time I play that fight. Every time I hear that quote, it's great. I love it.
Elden Ring has some of the most epic epic fights. There's also what is it, Mog, or what's the fire
Oh,
one?
the blood. Oh, the fire
Mo-
one. Oh,
It's
what
like
is his name?
Mog or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what his name is, but it's like the dragon fight where you got to use the giant spear.
That's no, that's Raynar, right? Ragnar or
Oh, yeah,
Raynar,
Ragnar.
something like
Yeah.
that. Something like that. That was epic to get that's the sword I would use, the blasphemous sword.
Yep.
So I had to beat him for that. But I'm talking about this guy Mog. I forget the name.
I think
His
it's
name.
Mog the Blood Omen, right? I
Yeah,
think.
something
And he's
like
got like
that.
fire
And
blood or something.
right, where he does the summon, he speaks Latin, and he just takes help from you in that second phase.
Yep.
3 times, and you just have to flask up, flask up. That was epic too because I forget the line he says in the beginning, but he's kind of like, "Welcome," you know what I mean? Like, "Welcome to your death" or whatever, and just he has like an epic story too in the lore of Elden Ring. Everyone should
Yeah.
check that out, right?
I could talk about Elden Ring all day. Elden Ring is a phenomenal game, easily best game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if God of War comes out, I don't know. We'll see. But
Ooh, that what an epic fight that's gonna be,
yeah,
man.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But Elden Ring blew me away. I can't talk about that game enough. I made a video about it, and I'll say it here too. Elden Ring fucks, and that's F, not S. Don't get it twisted. That game, fantastic game. Everyone needs to check it out at some point. It's
Yep.
hard. You're right. It's hard, but so rewarding and so worth it.
For sure.
There's a reason why we could talk about it all day there, and there's a reason for that. So
Yeah, for sure.
epic, awesome. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure. I'm very happy to have had you on, and I look forward to listening to more of your podcast. And once again, for the people that don't know where to find you, Twitter, podcast, let them know what you got going on.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm on Twitter a lot. That's where I like communicate with the gaming community. So you can find me at Toon_medic. That's Toon Medic. And yeah, my podcast is Gamers University Podcast. You could check the website out, gamersuniversitypodcast.com. And you could send an email, or you actually the easiest and best way to reach out to me is a DM on Twitter. I would love to have anyone on as a guest. Just talking about what you do for a living, just to spread the word out there for the children that are like gamers and don't know what they want to do with their life, and career choices and stuff like that. And let's learn what you do for a living. It's so much fun, and talk games. So you can hit me up on Twitter. That's number one thing. But yeah, if you want to listen to the podcast, some of the episodes are on YouTube, Gamers University Podcast. But I got to do a better job of uploading that. But because primarily it's audio version. But you could get on any platform. You could get it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, it's on it. iHeartRadio, whatever, on all the stuff. So yeah, Gamers University Podcast. Thank you so much, Glenn, for having me.
Of course.
This has been so much fun, and yeah, and I can't wait to see what you do on the next episodes, and I can't wait to hear what other people have for like their choices for best bosses.
Yeah,
And keep doing your thing, man. You have a great concept. You have a great idea, and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do.
Thank you for the kind words, good sir. Yeah, I look forward to doing more of these. Hopefully, I don't make all of you wait another year. I do have some planned, so just waiting on scheduling. Obviously, it's busy E3 week going on right now, so everyone's kind of busy trying to figure out what's going on. But yeah, thank everyone for watching. Remember to wash your hands, wash your ass, be good people, and I will see you guys on the next one. I hope you guys are